This is a story about you and me.
Our parents, our friends, our grandparents,
our cousins,
Our padrinos, our brothers, our sisters,
our past,
our present,
our future. This is a
Mexican family story.
An interesting commonality amongst many Mexican families, and something that might surprise other cultures, is the fact that a lot of them have stories about buried or found treasure. Gold and silver are found hidden in the walls and gardens of old buildings to this day, and it's not uncommon. After all, there was so much of it circulating throughout the country during the colonial period because of that insatiable Spanish hunger for those fine metals. The deep dark mines of Mexico enriched the Americas and the Old World as well. But the miners and their sacrifice has been mostly forgotten. There's a certain poetry to a mine, isn't there? The way it swallows men whole, leaving only echoes and dust. It's a world of shadows and silence, of broken promises and hard-earned survival. For generations, Mexico's miners have toiled in that darkness, shaping the wealth of empires while living in the margins. This is their story. A story of grit, struggle, and the unyielding pursuit of dignity. Mexico's mountains and deserts are rich with minerals, silver, gold, copper, zinc. From the colonial days of the Spanish Empire, these treasures fueled dreams of grandeur, but while the silver from Zacatecas adorned the places of Europe, the men who wrested it from the earth were little more than ghosts. Indigenous people, enslaved and forced into the mines, dug until their hands bled, until their lungs blackened, until they simply couldn't dig anymore. Even after independence, little changed for the miners. The faces in charge were different, but the game remained the same. By the late 19th century, foreign companies, British, American, Canadian, descended upon Mexico, bringing machinery and investors and a ravenous appetite for the wealth beneath the soil. They hired Mexican laborers by the thousands, paying them barely enough to survive. The work was brutal, long hours and suffocating heat, the air thick with dust that choked their lungs and stole their breath. The constant threat of cave-ins, gas explosions, and collapsing shafts hung over every shift. And then there was that silicosis, the miner's disease, a slow, agonizing death from inhaling fine silica dust. They weren't just mining ore, they were mining their own lives away, one shift at a time. Life outside the mines wasn't much better. Most miners lived in company towns, tiny enclaves of uniform shacks that clung to the edges of the mines like barnacles on a ship. The company controlled everything, the stores, the housing, even the schools. Wages were often paid in scrip, a kind of monopoly money that could only be spent at company-owned shops, where prices were conveniently inflated. But if you think these men were just victims, passive and resigned, you'd be wrong. There's a fire in the heart of every miner, a stubborn refusal to be crushed entirely. Across Mexico, from Cananea in the north to Taxco in the south, miners organized strikes, marched, and fought back. One of the most famous uprisings happened in 1906 at the Cananea copper mine in Sonora. Owned by an American company, the mine was one of the largest in the world, and its Mexican workers were fed up. They demanded better pay, shorter hours, and basic human dignity. The response? Violence. Strikers were met with gunfire, and the revolt was crushed. But Cananea wasn't a failure, it was a spark. The rebellion inspired labor movements across the country and fueled the flames of the Mexican Revolution. Miners joined the fight, carrying their pickaxes and their anger into battle, determined to reshape the system that had exploited them for so long. Post-revolution, things got better, at least on paper. Laws were passed to protect workers, unions gained power, and national pride in Mexico's mining heritage grew. But in reality, the old patterns were hard to break. Corruption, foreign interest, and the insatiable demand for resources meant that miners still bore the brunt of the industry's success. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the story evolves but the struggles remain. Modern machinery and safety standards have improved conditions, but they haven't erased the dangers. Mines in places like Coahuila, Durango, and Chihuahua still claim lives, still leave scars. And then there's the environmental toll. Entire landscapes stripped bare, rivers poisoned with chemicals, communities uprooted. Miners often find themselves caught between worlds, working to extract the very materials that destroy their own homes. It's a cruel irony. one they've learned to live with, though not without bitterness. But for all the hardship, there's a certain pride among Mexico's miners. They tell you that mining isn't just a job, it's a legacy. It's in their blood, passed down through generations like a family heirloom. There's a camaraderie in the mines, a brotherhood forged in the crucible of shared struggle. They work for their families, for the hope of something better, for the promise that their children might not have to descend into the same darkness. And if you visit a mining town, if you walk the dusty streets of Real de Catorce, or peer into the gaping pits of Zacatecas, you'll see it. The resilience, the stubborn will to endure. You'll taste it in the mole served in a miner's kitchen, rich and earthy, a reminder that life has its sweetness even amidst the bitterness. You'll feel it in the stories they tell, stories of loss and triumph, of grit and grace. Mexico's miners are more than workers, they're warriors, survivors, builders of empires, even if they've rarely gotten to enjoy the spoils. They've carved their lives out of stone and earth, carried the weight of history on their backs, and kept going no matter the cost. In their struggle, there's a lesson for all of us, a reminder of what it means to fight for something better, even when the odds are stacked against you, of what it means to dig deep, not just into the ground, but into yourself, and find the strength to carry on.